Okay, we're going to do a very difficult concept today. It's called surface area. Surface area is more complex in terms of its formula, so make sure that you are really focused and make sure you're interacting with this video as you go along. Pause, 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 and re-watch as many times as you need. The materials you're going to need: spiral notebook and calculator. Any calculator will do, just basic multiplication and addition here. And I'd like you to have a couple of crayons or highlighters of different color, because it really will help you in terms of understanding what pieces go together and where, what shapes I'm looking at. So it'd be great if you could get in the practice and habit of color coding your shapes so you can make sure you have all the sides and the pieces. Prior knowledge, some things that you absolutely have to know. Surface area, what is that? Surface area is going to be the space all the way around the shape. Surface meaning this is a flat surface, flat surface, flat surface, shape all the way around. And a net, of course, is the pattern that helps you create that three-dimensional shape. If you don't already have these formulas written down in your spiral notebook, go ahead and do that. Area of a rectangle, of course, is length times width. Area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. And then area of a circle is pi times r times r. This is the same as pi times r squared. You should know the circumference of a formula. Circumference of a circle, the formula for that. It is something you went over in 6th grade, and we'll be briefly talking about that today. So pause the video if you have to in order to get the material down, and make sure you have the materials you need for the lesson, and then come on back. All right, this first shape you don't need to copy down, but you do need to make sure you're understanding all the different pieces to it. This is called a rectangular prism, right? Prism because it has a base on both ends, and then it has all the shapes around the outside are called lateral shapes. So here's my rectangular prism. I have a base, and then all of these are my lateral shapes. A lot of people are asking me, how do I know if it's a base or if it's a face? A base or a face? Well, any side could be the base. This could be the base. This could be the base. And then these could all be the lateral shapes. It does not matter how you look at it. Base is usually bottom. If I stand it this way, now I have a square on the bottom. Lots of different ways to look at it. Notice what the net looks like. You've cut these out in class. A net is the pattern that creates that shape. If I take this out, cut out on the edges and spread it out, here I've got my net. Okay. I also want you to take a close look at all the numbers and where they came from. I have color coded them to hopefully help you kind of dissect the pieces. Here you have one of the bases, one of the ends. Okay. If that end is 20 inches, remember we're talking about rectangles here, so opposite sides are equal. So if this is 20, that makes this 20. If this is 8, that makes this 8, and this 8. You're going to need to understand that. And one little trick to try to help you remember all of those pieces, here the 20 is horizontal. That means all the other lines that are horizontal will be 20. So this one's 20, this one's 20, and this one's 20, because those are all the lines that are horizontal. Another trick in terms of the 8s. I guess I can keep the same color here. Let me change to 8. This one vertical line is 8, so all the other vertical lines will be 8, 8, 8, 8, and 8. That might help you as you're dissecting the shape. And then finally you have your diagonal lines, the slanted ones. This one's 5. That means all the other lines that are this shape or this location or this style will be 5. So this one's 5. And so with this one, this one, this one, and I'm missing one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of them. All right, so to find the surface area of this shape, in order to cover this box, and I'm going to take my net out here, and I'm going to take this net, and I want to cover this clear box. Well, I'm going to have to cover the end and the other end, as well as all the shapes, all the sides, all the way around. It's not going to fit out perfectly, but I want to cover the two ends. And then I want to cover all the sides of the shape. So the two end pieces, the two flaps on the ends, also written here in red, this front one and this back one would be exactly the same. To find the area of a rectangle, you're going to do length times width, you know that. So length and width, you're looking at the 20 and the 8. There's two of them. The front and the back are exactly the same. Now you have the blue. These would be the two sides of the shape. So here is your rectangular prism. This and this, top and bottom, are going to be the same. So we've got 5 times 8, 5 times 8. There's two of those, and I'm color coding them here for you. And then the top and bottom will be the same, and those would be the greens here, 20 by 5, and the top and bottom are the same. Okay, so you've got the two ends, so whatever you do to one, you're going to times it by 2. You've got the top and the bottom, and you've got the front and the back. Okay, here, take a look closely at the net. The two end pieces, the two ends. When I take my net out, those two ends are the flaps. Do you see that? So here, these two red pieces. Now I want you to look carefully at the other pieces for this net. Every other one, so if you think about it, this is the front, this will fold up to be the bottom, this piece is going to wrap around to the back. This is hard for students to understand because some people are just not as visual as others. Front, this is going to fold to the bottom, this is going to fold up, this is going to fold down. You have a net glued into your spiral notebook, so you can go ahead and manipulate that and see if you can understand. You can even color code if you'd like. Color code the boxes, the rectangles, and see how they all kind of fit together. Notice here it's every other one. So these two would be the top and bottom, these two would be the two sides. So here I've worked out my problem, plugging in all the information. I've got two reds, I've got two blues, and I've got two greens. And I've plugged in the information. Go ahead and give it a try. We'll be doing lots of practice problems in class, but see how you can handle this rectangular prism right here. Go ahead and pause the video, draw that shape, and see if you can draw the net to match. All right, hopefully you've color-coded your net here. My two end pieces are going to be red, so that means this is red and this is red. And then we have our blues. Every other one is blue. And then you have your green. Every other one is green. By color coding, it might help you figure out what information you're using. Now you're going to find the area of all the sides. You're going to find the area of the two front pieces, the two red ones. You're going to find the area of the two blue ones and the area of two green ones. Go ahead and pause the video and then come on back and we'll see if you can plug those numbers into the right location. Okay, hopefully you have that. It would be 9 times 4, 13 times 4, whoops, and 9 times 13. Go ahead and multiply out each one of those pieces. You're doing 9 times 4 times 2. And then add those products together. Great. Did you get 410 centimeters squared? Remember, we're doing area, so that area does need to be squared. We'll do some more practice problems in class, but you really need to understand the formula and how there are 6 sides to a rectangular prism, so you're doing 2, 4, and 6. 2 are the same on the ends, 2 on the top and bottom, and 2 on the sides. All right? Another shape you need to know is a triangular prism. And take a look at that. I know that looks really complicated, but I really wanted to make sure that you understood all the different pieces. A triangular prism has, of course, 2 triangles on the ends. So you need to find the area of the 2 triangles. You need to be familiar with that. And then you have 3 rectangles. 1, 2, 3 rectangles around the lateral sides. The lateral faces are rectangles. And if I take my shape out here and spread this out, you can see what that net looks like, similar to what I have here. So you've got the 2 triangle pieces. That would make the bases there. And then you've got 1, 2, 3 rectangles that would fold together to make your triangular prism. Okay? So you're going to find the area of each one of these pieces and then add them together. So you can see here I've worked this out. You can go ahead and pause the video so you can really understand where those numbers came from. And if you look carefully, I have color coded them. The rectangles are green, blue, and brown. So green, blue, and brown. Go ahead and pause the video and see if you can understand where those numbers came from. Okay, great. So here is the triangular prism I'd like you to try. Go ahead and copy this one into your notes. Notice the numbers here, get the numbers in the right locations. And I have a net already drawn. Go ahead and draw the net that goes along with it and see if you can put the numbers in the right locations. All right, great. So here's what you should have. You've got the base and the height of the triangle. And I know this is doesn't look like a right triangle, but you've got the base and the height of the triangle. The other end would be 12. And that would also be the same as this. And this would be 20. All right. Now we need to go ahead and find the surface area for each one. So you've got the area of the triangles here. Go ahead and plug those numbers in, see how you do. You've got 3 rectangles. See if you can figure out what each of those rectangles, what the numbers would be. All right, I'll caution you if this will help any, if you're confused. See this edge? Do you see how I labeled it as a 12? These two would touch when you fold it up together. So those two would have the same, because they touch, they match up. That would be this edge here, matching up with this edge here. Do you see how they would touch when you fold it up? So those edges are the same size. So this one and this one would match, if that helps at all. All right, go ahead and plug the numbers in. This is what you should have. 2 times 1/2, 8 times 10. Then you've got 12 times 20. You should have had 8 times 20. That's a times there. And we've got 10 times 20. So when all is said and done and all of that is multiplied out and then added together, make sure you multiply first and then add, you get 680 inches squared. 680 inches squared. Even though it's a triangle, we're finding surface area, so it does become squared. Okay? All right, now we're talking about cylinders here. Remember, a cylinder has a circle base, and then you've got this lateral shape here. This one's a little confusing. You might not realize if you have a soup can at home, it might be helpful to maybe cut off the label and take that out and use that as your net. If I take this and stretch it out, that is what the net looks like. You've got 2 circles for my bases, and then you've got the shape that twirls all the way around. That stretches out to be a rectangle. So here's my net. Pay close attention to where the numbers are located. I've got my radius. And then this right here represents how tall it is. How tall is my cylinder is actually the width of the rectangle. The length is where we're going to talk about circumference. Take a close look. I'm going to take this rectangle, I'm going to wrap it around the base. Wrapping it around the base. Around the circle, do you remember what that's called? Circumference, wrapping it around the circle. So my formula will be, you got to find the area of the 2 bases. That's the pi times r, also known pi times r squared. And then this shape right here, that also will come around to make the entire cylinder here. How do you find the area of that? Well, you're going to use the circumference. Remember circumference, pi times d. The circumference represents the long edge of the rectangle because it's going all the way around the circle. And then you've got the height, which is how tall your cylinder shape is. This is a real tough one to try to put all those pieces together to understand where all those pieces come from. So make sure you have that formula written down. And if you notice and pause the video, you can see where all my numbers came from and how I worked that out. Notice area is squared. Take a look at that example. Okay, so go ahead and draw your own cylinder. And here's the net. Go ahead and put the numbers in the right locations here. I've got 6 inches is my radius, and I've got 12 inches for my width of my rectangle. So go ahead and pause the video and see if you can work that out. Awesome. I know you're working hard. This is a very difficult concept. We have one more step, or a couple more steps to do. We have to plug in the numbers and then multiply it out. We're going to find the approximate here instead of finding the exact. Let's deal with that decimal 3.14. Okay? So we're going to do 2 times 3.14. The radius, of course, is 6. Notice that's not 6 times 2, 6 times 6. That's why I'm writing out the formula this way. I noticed several people getting confused on that in class. And then we've got the pi diameter, not just 1 6, but 2 6s together, and height. So this represents the diameter, and then the height is also 12. Multiply all that out. Go ahead and pause the video, multiply it out in your calculator, see what you get. Surface area is the toughest thing to figure out. It's really hard to visualize exactly what we're doing and then put that into formula base. Hopefully you did a good job, and we'll go ahead and watch the other video for volume next.